today I'm kind of taking a different tack. I'm going to talk about IBS, irritable bowel, leaky gut, Crohn's disease. It kind of all falls in the same thing. It's also related to arthritides. It's also related to lupus and a lot of thyroid issues and a lot of things that fall in the order of autoimmune diseases. Because where do those really start? Always look toward the gut. So I'm going to kind of lump those together, and I'm going to try to put a number of things together in this presentation, so it'll hopefully, if I understand how to work.
Try pointing at the computer.
Pointing at the computer.
It should be the lower thing.
The lower one?
There's a button. Yeah, there you go.
All right. So this is a story of discovery, denial, and enlightenment. So let's continue on our journey. Our journey starts, our story begins with an inventor, hopefully. His name is Dr. Roy Lee. He was a pioneer, and he was also a very amazing physician in his day. Dr. Roy Lee was an engineer who owned dozens of patents in his lifetime. He was, and a lot of times if you go to and look at electrical motors today, if you take them apart, they'll have LE stamped on a lot of the parts inside an electrical motor. Lee Engineering. To this day, that company still survives, his engineering company. And he's very proud because he made him a very rich man. But his first passion, although he's a great engineer, his first passion was biochemistry and human nutrition. He loved studying human physiology. And he used all the money he made from his patents to study human nutrition. So he said he had no outside influence. He didn't take any outside money from any other sources. So he said it didn't taint his research. Very interesting in doing that. He invented the variable speed electric motor. The governors on all electrical motors to this day are the brainchild of Roy Lee. He invented the technology that went into the Norden bomb site used during World War II, which is highly coveted by the Japanese, by the way. That was Roy Lee's technology. He worked on the guidance systems to anti-aircraft guns during World War II. So the guidance systems, a lot of the aircraft guns, so they knew how to lead the airplanes to shoot them down. That was credited for breaking the back of the Japanese, especially during the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot during World War II. That was Roy Lee. Freeze-dried coffee. That was an invention of Roy Lee. He worked for McDonnell Douglas. He was employed, worked heavily in the aerospace industry, especially in their guidance systems that went into the rockets. But he's also interested, while he was there, in working with the astronauts because he was very interested in nutrition when they went into space. But his first love was still, like we said, human nutrition and physiology. He eventually, Dr. Lee, led him to found the Standard Process Company, which is the supplements we carry today. Because he wanted to produce whole food supplements and saw a need for that at the time. In the 1950s, he developed the largest clearinghouse of scientific data in the world. He got journals, scientific journals from all over the world, Germany, France, Finland, all these different places, and he had them translated into English. And he kept them, cataloged them, cross-referenced them, and scientists from all over the world, when they had a question on any subject, would write Roy Lee to get copies of his journals, because he kept all those journals. Because they didn't have the internet back then, you gotta remember. So that's the best they could do at that time. In the 1950s, Roy Lee, and I've been trying to get this article, and Standard Process is very hesitant about giving it to me, but he submitted an article to the American Medical Association Journal, their version of it at that time. And he submitted an article that proposed autoimmune disease, because that was unheard of at the time. And he proposed a mechanism of how autoimmune disease affected the body. So Roy Lee sent that article to the AMA Journal. And of course, what they immediately did is branded him a charlatan and a quack. And so there's no such thing as autoimmune disease. And shortly after that, the FDA came into Roy Lee's property under armed guards, and they ordered the burning of all his scientific research. It took them days to haul out wheelbarrows full, and they burned everyone of all the scientific literature, and they said he could never collect it again. But they did allow him to keep his vitamin company for some reason. I'm not sure why, but that survives. That was back in the 1950s. And I think that really did affect his health a great deal at the time, because he was a great patriot, loved his country, also working so much with the Defense Department and things like that over the years. And that really crushed him at the time. He'd spent many years in court fights with the FDA and places like that, but after that happened, it really his health was never the same after that. But today, autoimmune disease is all the rage. Isn't that what you hear about all the time? Everyone talks to, the medical profession has talked about 100 and some odd different types of autoimmune disease. Anything you can't explain is an autoimmune disease, right? Can't explain autoimmune disease. Well, that includes Crohn's disease, IBS, leaky gut. Can't explain it. It's autoimmune. Although we finally recognize autoimmune disease, do we really not know what causes it? Let's go back and see what Royal Lee actually talked about, what he said it was. You might find it interesting. Steps to understanding autoimmune disease. Whenever I see a patient, when a patient first comes into the office, right? You take a case history of the patient. And they'll come in with diabetes, indigestion, insomnia, fatigue. They have dry skin, depression, gut issues. You know, they have all these different problems, hypertension. Like, where do you start with that? How do you address that? Like, oh my God. I mean, most physicians, they walk into a physician's office, they start by writing, okay, well, here's a drug for your hypertension, here's something for your bowel problems, here's something for this. I've seen patients with their lists up to 21 different medications. I was at the pharmacy the other day picking up something, and Dramamine actually, so I wouldn't get seasick. My wife wanted to go out on a fishing trip. I was like, ah. There was a lady in front of me with 13 different prescription medications she was picking up. And they only had 12 of them, and she was freaking out because they didn't have one of her prescriptions. Oh my God, she was so dependent on these drugs. It was making her upset. And that's how desperate people are for drugs, and it was to treat all these things. But is that appropriate? Because patients come in all the time, and I have their medical trial. I love working in a medical office because I usually have their medical records in front of me when they walk in the door. And I said, have any health issues? Well, no. Well, you're on diabetic medication. Oh, but I'm taking insulin, that's under control. Well, if you're on medication, it's not under control. I see you're on hypertensive medication. Oh, that's under control on my medication. If you're on medication, your hypertension is not under control. You're treating the symptom of it. That's just the manifestation of the disease. You're not treating the disease process itself, are you? So that's a problem when you give a medication. Medications are very necessary. I'm not saying they're not. There are places, and it's just for them. Trust me. But first, when I look at that case history, what do I do? Where do I go from that? Well, first I divide the body into many systems. I look at the body, the musculoskeletal system, the nervous system, the cardiovascular system, the immune system, the endocrine system, all those many systems. So I kind of divide the body out. But the one that takes first priority for me when I look at the body, I don't care what disease process is going on, is the digestive system. First and foremost. Our digestive system isn't functioning. Nothing else much matters in our life. It really doesn't. Because our digestive systems are responsible for the absorption of vital nutrients. Now that's kind of the difference between a holistic approach, physicians that practice a holistic approach, because they believe one thing. A holistic practitioner believes the body is endowed with vital intelligence. You know, it has an intelligence, it's the vital energy within your body. It's what the light behind your eyes. It's the spirit that leaves the body after you die, right? That's our the body knows how to heal itself. That's what a holistic, it has that knowledge and ability. That innate ability that knows how to heal itself. That's what a holistic practitioner believes. I don't care if it's a medical doctor or a chiropractor, a person who practices homeopathy, they all have that belief. They all believe that the body just needs the raw materials in place to be able to make those repairs and heal, right? Where's it going to get those from? What you eat, what you absorb, right? If those building materials are not provided, what's going to happen? You're going to break down. You're going to get diseased and sick. Right? So you must look to the digestive system. Nutrients like B12, calcium, iron, magnesium, etc. all have to be digested. You all need acid in your stomach to digest these vital nutrients. It has to be there, and we're all on antacids. That's working out for us real well, isn't it? The digestive system is also responsible for the breakdown of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates into the usable form. They're not usable in a whole food product. You have to break them down. And that's very important, as we'll talk about in a second. It's also responsible for protecting us from foreign invaders. They're stomach acid for a reason. Bacteria can't get through it. So remember, you're taking the outside world and you're putting it on the inside of you. So that the body has to fight those infections that are coming in. 80% of your serotonin, by the way, is produced in the gut. How important is that for brain function? People are walking around depressed. Everyone are getting all these antidepressant medications. Look at the gut. That's a large part of it, isn't it? If your digestive system is not functioning, not even the medications you're taking are going to be metabolized appropriately. You're going to have systems failures. First, look toward the gut. Understanding more about understanding autoimmune diseases, here's a few key points to keep in mind always. The systems of the body are highly compartmentalized. You've got the heart, the digestive system, liver, they're all pretty much separated. Why would the body compartmentalize all these things? Because you don't want heart tissue mixing with lung tissue, or you don't want the spleen growing out your nose or something like that. The body keeps all those things separate. Although they all have the same DNA, right? Only certain parts of that DNA are expressed, depending on what system it's in. So you never want those mixing. The body keeps everything separate and contained. Very, very important understanding, right? Especially when you're dealing with the immune system. The body is designed to protect us from foreign DNA. Why? Same reason. You don't need foreign DNA coming into your body because that's foreign blueprint. You're going to be growing stuff you don't want growing. Very important. So the body is designed to protect you that. Foreign DNA is found where? Foreign protein. Okay, that's where DNA is. It's in foreign protein. 85% of your immune system is in where? Your gut. That's where your immune system lives. Why would it live in your gut? What sense does that make? Like we were saying, we relate to the outside world by what we touch, feel, see, smell. But really, every day, we take tons of the outside world and we put inside of us. So the immune system has to be there to protect us from it. Take a garbage bag someday, and everything you eat, put in that garbage bag. At the end of the week, it's a lot of stuff. That's the outside world you put inside of you. So that's why your immune system's in your gut. Infections are responsible for killing most of mankind since the beginning of time. Most of mankind has died from infection. So the immune system's really geared into that. It's always looking for foreign entities entering the body. All right? The immune system is set up to attack foreign invaders. It doesn't like foreign stuff entering it. So let's keep that in mind as we go through this journey. Proteins are broken down into amino acids. Those are the building blocks that the body uses to make things. DNA only synthesizes for protein. Very, very important. So when you eat, what if you have poor digestion? What if you don't have good stomach acid, which is responsible, hydrochloric acid and pepsin? What if they're not working? And protein's not broken down. Okay, it gets through the stomach and gets into your intestinal tract. And you've been eating garbage for years, and your intestinal tract is broken down, torn up. You have leaky gut, especially things like carbohydrates, sugar, which tear up your gut lining. 80% of your immune system is in there, right? And you got this foreign protein that's now entered it. What do you think is going to happen? So remember, you got your immune system, you got foreign protein, and what does foreign protein contain? Foreign DNA. Now it makes contact with your immune system. What is it going to do when it sees that foreign protein? It's going to start making antibodies against it. Right? Because that's what the immune system does. You just developed a food allergy all of a sudden. You just developed allergies. The body's now in attack mode. Makes sense? So food becomes toxic to you. So here's the immune system having been called into action. And what is the immune system doing? It's looking for something to kill, something to destroy. I just deployed my troops, and they're storming the beach. So knowing that infection has killed most of mankind, the immune system is now put on high alert, and it's ready to kill. That's a problem. Because now picture the immune system, picture a struggling thyroid gland because it's malnourished, or an arthritic joint, even heart issues, anything like that, even muscle that's not functioning right. Now it's telling the body, these organs communicate. It's called hormones, prostaglandins, things like that. There's how the body communicates, right? It's telling the system, we're in stress. We're broken down. We need help. The immune system hears that message. What's it thinking? Hey, breeding ground for infection. Because infection cannot attack a healthy organ, right? Mosquitoes don't create the stagnant water they lay their larvae in. They look for it. What do foreign invaders look for? Broken down tissue, because that's where they're going to populate. The immune system knows this. So if it sees a weak or diseased organ, what's it going to do? It's going to attack it. That's what it's geared to, because that's a breeding ground for infection. You just started an immune cascade, didn't you? Where did it all start? In the gut. In order to defeat both any autoimmune, especially, look in the gut. That's where it begins. So keys to defeating autoimmune disease, and Dr. Curtis has talked about a lot of these. When you find yourself in a hole, the first thing you need to do is quit digging. So the first thing you need to do is, we talked about providing the nutrients for life, but also quit eating things that gum up the works, right? Quit eating offending foods. Corn, wheat, soy, usually your top 3 offenders, and sugar. I can guarantee those are usually your top offenders when you're looking at foods, pastas, potatoes, processed foods. We got breakfast cereals and all those types of things. Have you read the ingredients of most breakfast cereals? No, a lot of them are 40% sugar. I worked in a food lab for years when I was in college. We talked about cottonseed. I actually worked on a project in Texas Women's University to make cottonseed edible. I was on that research team. I was excited. I was in going through grad school. I said, wow, this is neat. I'm spending the summer doing research, doing something great for the world. And after a few weeks of doing this, we're going, okay, cottonseed isn't edible, number 1. Number 2, contains gossypol, which is a deadly poison. Number 3, it turned everything green. So it was kind of hard to cook with, because everything you tried to make flour out of it and made everything green. So we had a lot to overcome. So I finally asked the head researcher, why are we doing this exactly? I expected, to feed the world, to save starving kids. Well, we got a couple of $100,000 grant from the Cotton Growers Association because they have all this trash left over after harvest and they want to get rid of it. So we're going to feed it to people. Soylent Green. So you got to watch these things. Provide digestive support in the form of enzymes and avoid antacids. We talked about that. Enzymes are very, very important. You go to Europe, enzymes are they put enzymes, they have Swedish bitters, or they put certain foods they eat together to provide the support for enzymes, like papaya, pineapple, parsley. Those are all types of herbs and foods that contain enzymes. They eat that with their meals. Why? To help them digest their foods. I remember years ago with this was back in the 50s and stuff, the Europeans had come up with a solution for stomach ulcers, the sippy diet, which didn't, in Europe they would feed people milk and cream and it was curing their ulcers. They tried that in the US and it made it worse. I said, stupid diet, Europeans are idiots, they don't know what they're doing. Turned out the Europeans were using raw milk because it contained probiotics and it was killing the bacteria, the pathogenic bacteria in the gut. What were we using in the US? Pasteurized milk, which is void of any nutritional value because it's a heated processed product at that point, devoid of enzymes or healthy bacteria. Okay? I don't know why here in the United States it's illegal, it's dangerous. When we were in Europe, they sell raw milk out of vending machines. Apparently they're too stupid to know it's bad for them. Look for food allergies. In 90% of the cases, it's usually corn, wheat, like we said, corn, wheat, soy, or dairy. And a lot of because of dairy is because of the way it's been processed and manufactured. Especially I found that out the hard way. Lacto-fermented foods should be a good part of your diet. And every culture has included lacto-fermented foods, and Dr. Curtis talked about that. When you go to the Orientals, what do they have? The kimchi. The Germans, you had sauerkraut. Here are pickles, olives, vinegars, buttermilk, sour cream. All those things, people used to lacto-ferment their food to make it digestible. The Eskimos were keen observers of nature. They noticed when they fed their dogs fresh fish, they couldn't pull the sled very well. When they fed them fermented fish, they could pull the sled all day long. Well, what was the deal there? It sounds counterintuitive until you recognize the digestive system takes a lot of energy, and lacto-fermented foods are already partially digested, giving you energy, right? So that's the beauty behind lacto-fermented foods. Downregulate the immune system, and there's one of the products we carry are protomorphogens, and they help to do that, and we can discuss that's a whole topic of another, but that helps downregulate and calm the immune system down and gives those organs a chance to heal. Balance the endocrine or hormonal system, especially adrenal glands, because they're responsible for inflammation. And who is not adrenally stressed? You got to get, when does the gut heal? when you sleep. So if you're not getting proper sleep, that's a problem. So you really have to look for that, and a lot of stress in our lives. So we have to look for ways to mitigate stress, and that's very, very important. That can be another topic for another time, and that's very big when you're dealing with these types of issues. Suggested supplements that I use a lot when I'm dealing with Crohn's, irritable bowel, and 25 years ago when I first started, a lot of this was new to me. When I had a person that came in with these problems, I said, what do I do? You know, I kind of followed the prescription out of the Bible. I fasted my patients. And their gut problems would clear up. It was like, whoa, obviously it's something they're eating. So we slowly start adding foods back to the diet. I tell you what, if you're dealing with a Crohn's patient or irritable bowel or gut disease, it's always grain and sugar. It's always grain and sugar. And until you take those out of the diet, you will not get anywhere with that disease. So that's the first and foremost thing you do. And what I always did with the patients is slippery elm or marshmallow root. Those are mucilages in the herbal world. If you dissolve them in water, it's like slime. It coats the intestinal tract to help protect it while it heals. Very, very healing. When you got an intestinal problem like that, you got to protect. You get these open wounds in your gut. You got to protect those while they heal. Digestive enzymes are very, very important because remember, if you're not digesting your proteins and stuff, the body's thinking, hey, foreign protein, it's making antibodies against whatever you put into it. Getting proper digestion is vital. AF beta food is one of those. We talked about something high in betaine. Dr. Curtis was talking about that later. That's what AF beta food is. It's beets. You look at the bottle, you're eating beets. And someone was asking earlier, well, can't we just get it out of our food? Yeah, but who eats good anymore? I'm sorry, who eats organ meats and glands and beets and all these things? I tell my patients, you can eat beets, sure. I'd rather take the pill. Fine. But that's what it is. I'm going to feed you that. In one way or the other, I'm feeding you. Chlorophyll complex, amazingly healing. You got skin wounds and stuff, you put chlorophyll, man, it's amazing healing properties. I want that on the inside. I'm giving you chlorophyll complex to promote healing within the gut. Cod liver oil, it's anti-inflammatory. I had a drug rep in here the other day yelling at me. There is no evidence that fish oil helps. Really? You don't need essential fatty acids? I mean, they're called essential for a reason. You don't need vitamins A, E, D, and K? They're essential nutrients, and essential means necessary for life. Those aren't necessary? Geez, I don't know what school you went to. Ochrapepsin. Very, very important. Pepsin is a very important digestive enzyme. Hydrochloric acid doesn't work without pepsin to help digest your food. It also helps break down the gunk that develops on our intestinal linings. It helps digest that off and clean it. Very, very cleaning and cleansing product. Cataplex C, vitamin C. What is vitamin C responsible for? Tissue growth and repair. I'm trying to heal and repair. Dermatrophin, the same type of tissue that is in the gut as the skin tissue, same type. So I'm actually using things to heal the skin, to heal the gut. Acidophilus, Dr. Curtis talked about that later. That's what I follow up all these things. I'll do this first, clean up the gut, then I'll hit them with acidophilus. I'll put that healthy bacteria back in their gut. When I get a sick patient, man, I might do three times a day. I'm going to put a mega dose, I'm going to do a nuclear dose in their gut to help repair that. Sometimes people's guts are so broken down, it might take months to get it back to normal. It can be quite a process. And Cholacol too, it's actually got bentonite clay in it. Why am I having patients eat clay? Because it absorbs all the toxic chemicals that are in the gut that some people are putting into their systems. So those are some of the protocols that I use in my supplement programs.
Dr. Sullivan.
Yes, sir.
Can you get all those supplements in 1 or 2 pill forms?
No, sorry. But I don't do them all at once. I might do those in stages. And I might not do all of them. It just depends on my patient and what I'm looking at. I might do one of them, I might do 3 of them, I might do all of them, but I usually do them in phases when I do that. I don't do that all at once. Foods. A healthy diet, I'm going to go through this very, very quickly. A healthy diet needs to be 1, low in carbohydrate. Vegetables do not affect blood sugar levels, they don't count. Adequate protein. High protein diets will always fail. The body can only metabolize 15 to 20 grams of protein per meal. The rest is converted to sugar. Okay? That's why you never eat a high protein diet. You eat a high fat diet. A diet high in fat. Why? Fat is essential for life. It's a building block for life. All your cellular components are made out of fat. Your brain and nervous system are made out of fat. All your hormones are made out of fat. And if you don't provide the fat, your cellular structures start breaking down. That's not a good thing. have cellular die-off because you don't have the raw materials to make them out of. Not a good thing. So your diets need to be high in fat. You can't metabolize protein without fat. That's why traditionally people never ate lean meat. You need fat to metabolize protein. You don't drink skim milk. You need fat to metabolize protein. If you give I worked in a dairy. If you give a cow skim milk, it will die. Why are we drinking it? Doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? So yeah, your diet needs to be high in fat. And you won't overconsume meat if you do, because why? Fat is satiating. You can't overeat it. Try. Okay, I'm full. It's not going to happen. Examples. Full fat meat, chicken with the skin, organ meats as we talked about, whole dairy, especially half and half cream, butter, hard cheeses, coconut oil, olive oil, lard. Mom cooked with lard. Eat like your grandparents. Nuts and seeds and vegetables. So this advice the government gives us, let's eat whole grains, fruits and vegetables, and lean meat. That sounds really good, doesn't it? Well, grains, we know, are high in turn to sugar. And grain is not natural to the human diet. Go out in a wheat field and try to eat grain. Not only would it not taste good, it'd give you a bellyache. We don't have a crop. Grain is also destructive to cows. If you keep a cow on a grain diet, it will die. And they're not meant to eat it. Okay? Grain is the food of a bird. Right? If I fed a dog vegetables, it will get sick and die. If I fed a rabbit meat, it will get sick and die because that it is not its natural diet. What is our natural diet? Man is a hunter-gatherer, whether you like it or not. That is our design. Okay? Full fat meat. So the thing is eating whole grain doesn't make sense. Eating lean meat, you need fat to metabolize protein. That doesn't make sense. Fruits and vegetables, the vegetables are really good, but fruit is high in sugar. What does a bear eat to fatten up for the winter? Fruit. When you get fat, eat lots of fruit. And in nature, how often do you get fruit? A few weeks out of the year. Except now we got HEB, so we can eat it all the time. So that becomes an issue. So if you want to be healthy, do just the opposite of what the government recommendations are. Anyway, eat like your grandparents. You know, it's crazy. I get in more argument. When you tell people to eat whole natural food, they're going, eat whole food? What? That's crazy talk. How have we gotten to that point? When I tell someone to eat whole food and they look at you like you're nuts. That's a shame. So let's go back to eating the way we were meant to eat. So that is my presentation.